Good afternoon. I'm Richard Kincaid, and I'm the CFO of Healios. At Healios, our mission is to transform lives through the power of regenerative medicine. We're a world leader in the development of therapies derived from engineered iPS cells. And today, I'd like to update you on our strategy, our pipeline, and on the development of our universal donor iPS cell technology platform. So our company was founded in 2011 by Dr. Hardy Kagimoto. And Hardy listed the business in 2015, and today we have around 140 people based in our Tokyo and Kobe operations. And we have 6 key strengths that I'd like to highlight. The first is our unique hybrid strategy. At Healios, we're combining the near-term commercialization of a late-stage licensed-in asset called Multistem with the longer-term development of our world-leading iPS cell technology platform. And importantly, we're doing this in Japan, which has the most favorable regulatory framework in the world for regenerative medicine. Now, in this regulatory environment, we have 2 very strong near-term catalysts in the form of 2 clinical studies for ischemic stroke and ARGS. Both of these studies will complete full enrollment in the very near future. Now, earlier this year, we announced that we established a proprietary gene-edited universal donor iPS cell line, which we call our UDC line. And this has positioned us strongly to lead the development of the next generation of iPS cell-derived therapies. Now, using this line, we've developed several pipeline assets to address some of the biggest areas of unmet medical need our society faces today. Supporting all of this is a deep and diverse team, 2 manufacturing partnerships, and very strong financial resources. Now, to illustrate our strategy further, we're using Multistem here in the near term and taking what comes from that in terms of valuation uplift and cash generation to invest in our iPS cell platform. And there are 3 key components to the iPS platform today. One is gene-edited iPS cells, then the application of iPS cells in the immuno-oncology space, and then manufacturing capabilities so that we can efficiently make products that are derived from these cells. And that then allows us to create pipeline assets that we're using to address various unmet medical needs. And there's a supportive venture capital fund arm that's part of our business where we have activities in the US and in Japan. This is important because it leads to deep engagement with relevant technologies that are emerging around the world. Now I'd like to briefly go through the regulatory framework in Japan. So in Japan, we have the conditional and time-limited authorization system. Under this system, when you're running a clinical trial for a regenerative medicine product, you have to prove safety like you would anywhere else. But when it comes to efficacy, you have to show a trend. You don't have to hit the type of p-value that you would in, say, the United States. And this is very supportive because it allows you to get early approval. You can sell your product for up to 7 years while you continue to build out your data set and refine your treatment approach. And what this does for us is, at Healios, we're building the most effective and the safest products to bring to patients globally. It allows us to do this with less risk and less cost than otherwise. Now, this is our pipeline as it currently stands. We're in the most advanced phases of developing Multistem for ischemic stroke and ARDS in Japan. On the iPS side, we have efforts in the eye, organ buds for liver disease, and importantly, functionally enhanced NK cells for solid tumors. Now, I'd like to briefly update you on our activity related to Multistem. We licensed in Multistem from Athersys for both ischemic stroke and ARGS. This is data from Athersys' phase 2 double-blind study in the United States. This is post-hoc data for patients that were treated within 36 hours of stroke onset. You can see at both day 90 and at the 1-year mark, they had statistically significant outcomes for efficacy. This is using a primary endpoint of excellent outcome. Now, using that data, we set up a trial here in Japan called the Treasury Studies. It's a 220-patient double-blind study to treat severe ischemic stroke patients within 36 hours of stroke onset. Same primary endpoint, which is excellent outcome. We announced recently that we expect this trial to fully enroll patients this quarter, so Q4. Now, stroke is a big market. Our target market is about 62,000 patients, which is a subset of the overall market where we think there are severe ischemic strokes, plus we can treat within 36 hours of onset. And there are a couple products that are available today, a couple therapies, but they're not that effective and they're only available within around an 8-hour time window. So with this product, we're seeking to bring a more effective product to market, but also extend that treatment window out substantially in order to bring a treatment to patients where it's just not possible today. There's some competition in the stroke space, different regenerative medicine companies seeking to address it. But we're leading by being in phase 3 and nearing completion of this big trial, but also by focusing on acute stroke. So some of these other companies are more focused on chronic stroke. And at that point, we think it's very difficult because of the secondary damage that they're going to be dealing with, which is exactly what we're trying to treat and prevent with our therapy. And so collectively, we think we're in a very strong position to build a stroke franchise in Japan and really lead the building of this market. Now, I'll move on to ARGS. This is phase 1/2 double-blind study data from out of Athersys in the US for Multistem. And on the right-hand side, this is data for patients who look most like those that were treated in our study in Japan. This is severe pneumonia-induced ARGS patients. And the placebo group had 50% mortality, whereas the treated group fell to 20%. And ventilator-free days and ICU-free days were both improved significantly. So this is very encouraging data. Now, our study is a 30-patient open-label study. We're treating 20 patients with a therapy, 10 with standard therapy. And we announced recently that we're about 90% enrolled in this study, so we're going to finish this up very soon. We applied for and received Orphan Regenerative Medicine designation for this therapy in ARDS. And this is supportive because it defrays development costs and optimizes for timeline of approval, among other things. Between Athersys' data, the data we expect to get out of our trial, the orphan status, and the fact that there's no treatment for these patients today, we do believe that we'll be in a position to apply for an approval with this therapy here in Japan based on the one small study. Now, our focus is on treating ARGS more generally, and our trial is focused on testing this in pneumonia-induced ARGS patients. But there's been a lot of attention paid to ARGS recently because of COVID-19 and the connection to COVID-19. And so when we understood this earlier this year, we decided to set up a second cohort in our trial to treat COVID-19-induced ARGS patients too, to test out the safety and evaluate the efficacy in these patients. We set up a separate cohort, 5 patients, that fully enrolled last month. And while the focus is on ARGS more generally, this is good incremental data for us to have to consider, and we'll analyze it side by side with cohort 1, and we'll look forward to providing more information to the market as soon as we can. Now, ARGS is an important and meaningful indication for us. There are about 10,000 patients per year in Japan. And if we can save the lives of thousands of ARGS patients, we will have gone a long way to achieving our mission here at Healios. So now I'd like to move to our IPS programs. And between stroke and ARGS, we're well on our way to becoming a commercialized pharmaceutical company in Japan. But we've always led the development of iPS cells, and I think that's even more the case today because of the advent of our universal donor cell technology. And so we've taken one of our globally approvable GMP-grade iPS cell lines, we've edited it to make it universal. We've discussed this with the FDA and the PMDA, and we've gotten very positive and supportive feedback about using this through phase 3 trials, using products that are developed from it. And so what we've done specifically is we've knocked out class 1 and class 2 HLA molecules. We've knocked in certain genes to improve immune evasion. We've added a suicide gene as a safety switch. And we then differentiated this into various differentiated cells, and we've tested it. And these cells are not recognized by immune cells, including NK cells. So this is very exciting for us, and it's groundbreaking. We believe it's a paradigm shift here for our industry, because our goal has been to create off-the-shelf products that don't require immunosuppression. And so that's what this allows, right? It allows us to create products with longer durations of efficacy, to consider treating chronic conditions with repeat dosing regimens. And so all in all, it really does a lot, we believe, to unlock the potential of iPS cells. And so one of the first things we've done with this is we've taken our UDC line and we've developed what we're calling a 3rd generation immune cell therapy for cancer. So it's a universal donor cell-derived, functionally enhanced NK cell for solid tumors. And while data for CAR T in liquid tumors has been very impressive, has been amazing and wonderful, we believe that in solid tumors, which are 90% of cancer deaths, and it's a huge unmet medical need that we're trying to attack head on with this, that it's going to be more optimal to enhance the cancer-killing abilities of NK cells and direct them towards certain solid tumor indications. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to build a best-in-class, functionally enhanced NK cell for solid tumors. We're doing it in a way so that it's going to have broad applicability irrespective of cancer-specific antigens. And we're building a potent NK cell for solid tumors. This is a list of the functional enhancements relative to some of the peers out there that are building NK products. Healios is building the most comprehensive, functionally enhanced NK cell for solid tumors. We're testing this currently in PDX mice with various human solid cancers. And as we get into next year and get data from this testing, we will consider it and where we're seeing the most efficacy, which solid tumors, and we'll move on towards planning our initial INDs for this product. Now, in the time that I have, I want to briefly give you an update on our efforts in the eye and on organ buds. Our RPE cells for age-related macular degeneration, our development partner, Sumitomo Nippon Pharma, has announced that they expect to start a trial for this in Japan. But in the eye space, there's other technology that we're working on. We're using our UDC line and taking advantage of that. We're very excited about some of the eye work that's going on here at Healios, but we haven't disclosed details. We'll look forward to disclosing more as soon as we can. For organ buds, we're focused on getting first-in-human POC through our academic partners, who are going to start clinical research soon to treat metabolic liver disease with liver buds. So once we get that POC, we'll be able to use that as a springboard to move the organ bud program even further. Whether it's the work we're doing in the eye or organ buds or other programs here at Healios, we think it's going to prove to be a key differentiator and ultimately really important for commercialization, that we're building these more and more off of our universal donor cell platform. Now, Hardy is key to our team. He's the majority owner of the company. He's sitting here in the middle. He is a unique talent in Japan. But he's surrounded himself with people with different backgrounds and skill sets and experiences, and it's really set us up well to execute on our strategy. On the one hand, we have a lot of senior ex-pharma executives who have tons of experience taking products through the regulatory system, through the clinic, and through commercialization. That sets us up to become this commercialized Japanese pharmaceutical company that I mentioned. At the same time, we have Hardy and people around him who are entrepreneurial, who are focused on innovation, who want to move things forward fast. And that allows us to be a different kind of Japanese pharmaceutical company. I think one that can achieve things that a lot of others around us probably aren't positioned to achieve. And so with that in mind, we're very proud of the innovation coming out of our Kobe Research Institute. And we have over 90 people there now, over 30 PhDs, whether it's the universal donor line, the NK cell program, and immuno-oncology work that's going on around that, other programs. Innovation has been astounding. At the same time, I think a hallmark of products coming out of Healios is going to be the quality standard that we're setting. Everything we're building is being built so that it's globally approvable. And for those of you who know the iPS cell space, you know that that's not always the case. It's not that easy. Now, on the manufacturing side, we have a dozen people in this team working on manufacturing technology internally. But for commercial scale manufacturing, we're focused on supportive partnerships. So one is with DSP. This is the entity that's made the RPE cells that are going into patients, that have gone into patients in Japan. The other is with Nikon, where we have a broad partnership with them, but they're working closely with our partners in the US, Athersys, to prepare for commercial manufacturing of Multistem in Japan. So from a financial perspective, we're in a very strong position. We have over $140 million in the bank right now. We spend about 10 per quarter. It says 10 to 15, but it's closer to 10. So we're really comfortably positioned as we move into two very strong catalysts here in the near term. So as I said at the beginning, Healios is a mission-driven company. With all the actions that we're taking, the strengths that we're leveraging, we're doing a great job of moving our mission forward. We've taken a de-risked product from outside of Japan, and we're bringing it through the favorable regulatory system here to bring a treatment to patients where they haven't had one. And at the same time, we're driving innovation. We're setting the quality standard in the iPS space to make the promise of iPS cells a reality as soon as possible. Thank you so much for your time.